introducing each member of the class of 51, or starting off and then introducing the others, and I will film them too.
You want me to tell my story first?
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. There's a lot of years gone by. And you know, I don't really think about how old I am and everything, but this year my oldest child turned 65 next week. And that really made me think about all the years that have gone by. And like Joanne said, we went to school in the country. And I must, if he went 6 years there, I must have gone 7. And my mother was the teacher and the principal there most of the years that I went there. And we got a good education there.
We did, yeah.
I mean,
And
we were not behind
No.
when we came to.
I'd say she was almost as authoritative as Gladys Burke.
You're right. We have a lot of stories that we could tell about that, but maybe we shouldn't do that. But after we came to school here, I have a lot of fond memories of going to school here, and I'm still proud to be a Red Raider. And last night, you talked about farm and everything. I went to see the band. I went to the football game. I went mainly to see the band because we have a wonderful band this year. In fact, they're down at SFA today, going to perform, maybe to go to state, which I don't think a band from Winnsboro has ever done. But the performance they did is that God Made a Farmer.
Oh, yeah.
And it's tremendous. It is just unbelievable what this band director and these children have done. But there's so many things in our school district that we excel at. But then you look around, you see all these portable buildings, and you see, hear about over in the middle school that children have to stand up to eat their lunch. You think we don't need this new school system?
We do.
But that's another story. When I got out of high school, I went to Dallas, got a job, and married in December. And that marriage lasted 9 years, maybe. I had 2 children, and I had 2 or 3 really great jobs. The Lord was so good to me. The last one I had was with the Zale Corporation, and when I left there, I was the supervisor of their payroll department. When I first went there, we had 2,000 employees, and when I left, we had 14,000.
Wow.
And it was the most interesting job I believe I ever had. And then we moved back, we moved here. I remarried a little before that to the most wonderful man that he was a jewel.
He really was.
He's been gone about almost 10 years now. We came back here, and I had some jobs. I worked for Charlie Winkle for, let's see, 2 years in the car store, maybe, and 7 years in the other business that he had. And then I went to the bank, First National Bank, and I retired from there in 1998. And I'm telling you that retirement has been an experience. I do teach Sunday school at the First Baptist Church. Do a lot of things there. I play a lot of 42 and canasta and skip bow and have all these wonderful friends. We have girls' day out. We go everywhere. And like I say, retirement's been a joy to me. I live in a retirement center where I don't have to take care of anything. They take care of all the problems, mow the yard, which that's a great thing. And life is great, I think. You know, a lot of people when they get to our age don't enjoy by, but I hate for people to be that way. And you were talking about how many, we had, I think, maybe 58 or 59 in our graduating class, and we've been fortunate. As best I can tell, we've only lost about 20 to death, as far as we know. We've got 4 or 5 we've never been able to find. We don't know what happened to them, but so we're a hardy old bunch. And so it's just great to be with all y'all today.
Let me just say before you introduce the next one, I want to mention that I'm going to make a group picture of our class 52. So don't anybody run away before we get that picture made. But if the class 51 would like to have one, I'll be glad to make that as well. So just remember, if you'd like to have a group picture, as soon as we get done here, we can do both of them right over here.
That would be nice. A lot of our people were physically unable to be here today, and then some of them are uptown that didn't make it down here. So if you want to see the rest of them go up to the gym, I think maybe they'll be up there.
Okay, you want to introduce the next one?
George, would you like to speak? This is George Kennemer.
I'm George Kennemer, class of 51. After I graduated from high school here, I went to Sam Houston. I think I took a week off, went down there and went to school at Sam Houston State for 3 years, and I graduated with a BS in technical agriculture in May of '54. Then I came back home while I was in the reserves, and went to summer camp first 2 weeks of June. And after I got back from summer camp on Monday morning, I was walking streets of Winnsboro and running into Harold Dodgen. I had known him from a year before. Summer before, I worked in the oil field up here. And then he asked me what I was doing, and I told him I was looking for a job. He said, well, why don't you go down to Bethlehem's office store and talk to HB Care. So I went on and talked to HB and made an application and everything. And that evening, I was out staying with Mother and Dad out there, and Harold drove up and said, well, when can you come to work? I said, well, no sooner than tomorrow. He said, well, get off at 7 o'clock. So I went to work for Bethlehem Steel, no oilfield supply, and worked there for 6 years. I moved to Louisiana, back to Winnsboro, to Mineola, to Kilgore, back to Louisiana in 6 years. So I said, I had a daughter fixing to start to school, so I said, I believe I need to settle down somewhere. So when Bethlehem had shut down in the area, I come back to Copeland, went in the oil field supply business in Copeland. And so I worked, run that business there all through the 60s. And sold it out in 1970 and went to South Texas working oil field chemicals. And I stayed in the oil field chemical business the rest of my working time. In the oil field. I finally quit work in 2012. I had to figure out I had enough of it. So in the meantime, of course, I'll go back a little bit. As you all know, I married Bobby Jones from Cope in summer 1953, and she passed away in 96. And September the 14th of '96, then after she had passed away, and then a latter part of '98, I met Molly, and my wife. We got married in February the 18th of '99, and she's been a wonderful wife. I go back a minute. Bobby and I had 3 children. My oldest, Cheryl, and then Russell and Brian, the boys. Cheryl's in Allen, and Russell's in Houston, Brian's in Victoria. So we don't get to see them, the boys down there much, so they don't come up to see me very much, but we see them every once in a while. But we go down there more than they come up here to see us. But Molly had a boy and girl. The girl's in Alabama, and her son down at Lufkin. So we get to go visit them, and we've got, I think, 11 grandkids.
We have 12 grandchildren.
12
and
now. Yeah, I
4
got
great-grandchildren.
that oldest boy at 55. He done got a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old now. So I don't know what he's thinking about. Yeah. I told him 55 was way too old for a man to be raising a baby, starting out with a new baby, you know. But anyway, that's what's happening. I guess I will say a lot of people talk about the oil field and how it goes up and down, but I guess I was the luckiest fellow in the world. I started working in the oil field June 16th in '54, and I never missed a payday until I quit in '12. So, I changed jobs several times with different companies, but I never missed a payday. So to me, the oil field has been real good. And health is, I don't have any health problems to speak of. I got a cardiologist that thinks I do have. I don't want to pay a lot of attention to him either. So, I tried to tell him one time, I had been on Liptor one time before for another doctor, and I went back 6 months and had my cholesterol checked, and them, oh, we doing good at so-and-so. Went back, and I was taking 10 milligrams, so I cut it in half. The next 6 months went back, he said to me, man, you really doing good. We down 20 points this time. So I didn't say anything that time. I went back home and I quit completely. 6 months later, I went and had it run again, and I was below, about 25 points lower again. So he told me that, and I said, Doc, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I said, what's that? I said, I'm not taking any more cholesterol. He said, why? So I told him what I'd done, and he said, no, okay. So the one I got now, I told him that story, and he didn't like it too much.
And they argue every year he goes for his annual checkup. They argue.
But I better quit, sign off here and tell you all I appreciate visiting with all of you very much. I really enjoy getting together with the class and visiting. I enjoy coming down here and visiting with everybody that I can talk to. And you always find somebody.
That's right.
Amen.
But I appreciate y'all inviting us to come over, Joe.
For those in the class 52, George is the nephew of Hoyt Kennemer.
Yeah.
He was your uncle.
Hoyt was my uncle.
Yeah. Okay. Just FYI.
Yeah, you know Hoyt, he ended up vice president of finance at
SMU.
SMU. Yeah. I got a statue, monument in his name up there.
Yeah, it's a fountain, I think.
Fountain,
Yeah. Hoyt and I had lunch a lot when I moved to Dallas in '73, and Hoyt was controller at SMU, and he and I would have lunch a lot, and it was just a wonderful time. He married Jolene Morrison, and she was working on a degree at SMU. I forget now what it was, anthropology or whatever it was. Anyway, I told her, and she was looking for something to do a paper on, and I said, well, have you heard Johnny Cash's Bitter Tears album? No, she hadn't. I said, well, you need to go get it. It's all about songs about Native Americans, and somebody needs to do a paper on it. And she did. She went and got it, did a paper, and got a really good grade on it. And I think she thanked me for that idea several times before she passed away. Who's next, Joan?
Well, I think I better say something else in case somebody sees this. I have 17 great-grandchildren and one great-great, and another one on the way. And I'm really blessed, but it's hard to believe, you know. But next, I guess, Lois Marie Mills.
I'm Lois Marie Mills, Tucker now. Been married almost 65 years. My husband is not here today, but he's at a funeral up in Finley. We live in Tyler. When I graduated, I went to Tyler and went to Federal Institute Business School. Went there for almost a year. You could go as fast as you wanted to, but anyway, that's why. Went to applied for a job at Cottonville Railroad. And everybody thought that was, I thought that I knew a girl who got the job there, and I thought she made lots of money for us then. I said, if I could just get that a job like that, I would really be happy. Well, I got it. And I worked different jobs till we retired in 1933. 1993. I was born in 93. In 1993. And but in the meantime, we worked at the Cotton Belt Railroad, the building there in Tyler, you know. And all those years, they were trying to integrate with other railroads. They finally did integrate with SP, Southern City Bone. So we had to move to Houston for 5 years. Never thought I'd live in Houston, never thought I could drive in Houston, but I did, and those were good years for us. We came back home every weekend. Finley was a driver part-time when he was working. He also worked for SWT, what is it, the trucking part, first for the railroad and then the trucking part, and then they dissolved, and then he came back to the railroad. But then we retired, and we have 2 children, a boy and a girl and a boy. My daughter is English teacher in Valley High School in Valley. She loves it. She could retire now, but she said, I don't know what else I'd do. She has 3 children, 2 girls and a boy. One of the girls is in OU in Oklahoma. And the next one is graduating now, this year. And the boy is, of course, he's a while. Each one of them 5 years apart. So, and then our son works for the postal system, and he lives in Chandler, but he is our rock. He checks on us all the time. He does whatever we can't do, which is not much. We can't do much anymore. He really is something to us. I had the 3 grandchildren by my daughter, and then he has one adopted child who's now 12, and then he married a girl who had 3 children, and I count them ours anyway. We're always with them, and 2 of them are in all. One of the boys, the younger one, is in Midland, and the oldest one is in Burleson. They like it. They make money. It's really good jobs. And then they have another. She had 3. And the daughter lives in Tyler, works at a doctor's office. And then the little girl, we have just now been seeing her play volleyball. It's a joy to watch them play sports, which we always went to football games and everything, all the way up to when our kids were growing up. And then when our grandkids got in high school, and Sarah was in the band, we don't go anymore, hardly. But off, like Terrell had. But we would love to. That's about all I know.
Did you have a brother?
Joe Jack.
He passed away recently, right? Yeah.
And his daughter, Jackie.
Was he in the class behind you 2 years or so?
2.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Joe Jack.
Yeah.
But there's another Joe Jack. But that was
He was Big Joe Jack, and there was a little Joe Jack.
Exactly. That's right.
Your brother was Big Joe Jack.
All right. Thank you.
I guess next is Mac Mullino.
I think I know more about the 52 class than I do guys like Will. I've known him consistently since that time because he and I have been associated. He's State Farm, was my State Farm agent, and I was his tax accountant. So I kept him out of trouble with IRS pretty well.
Almost.
And he took care of all my wrecks that I had. And I had a few of them, and after he left, State Farm canceled me out. So they said I had too many accidents and I'm getting too old. So I had to find another insurance company. What Kennemer was a guy that I was very close to. When I graduated from high school, of course, like Joanne, I was very active in FFA. That's about all I was active in. Wasn't a very good student in anything else.
Didn't you and I get State Farmer the same year? Lone Star Farmer?
I never made the State Farm.
Oh, you didn't?
And I was very active in going to all the meetings, and me and R.A. Johnson spent a lot of trips judging cattle, judging things. That was my interest. I always thought I'd be a farmer or a teacher or something, but our senior high school, senior class, our graduating class, we had a visitor, recruiter from Tyler Junior College, came and spoke at our high school. And the happened to be the head of the accounting department. And he interested me, or got my interest in accounting. And I don't know why. It was the furthest thing I would ever thought I'd ever be interested. I wasn't good at math, I wasn't good at English, I wasn't good at much of anything. But I loved the idea of thought of being, going to college. But he interested me in that, and they gave me a chance to drive the school bus from Winnsboro down there to help pay for my way. I had no family that could afford to send me to college. And the guy that owned the Piggly Wiggly, Jim, got his name now, and Johnny Neighbor, they all talked me into going to college. If it hadn't been for them and the fact that I got a chance to drive a school bus to help pay my tuition, I was able to graduate from Junior College in 1953. And at that time, I was able to escape the Vietnam War, Charlie, not the Vietnam, Korean War, by getting deferment to finish the college. So I decided to enroll at East Texas. And at that time, Hoyt was in his senior year, I believe. No, he was a junior year. He and I graduated at the same time in the summer of 1955. So I was Hoyt's driver. He never owned a car. He and Jolene, after they got married, they had an apartment, and Jolene would pick meals for me, and I would drive them around. I had a car. And Hoyt and I got to be very close. And then he graduated, and I helped him move to Aggieland in a two-door car. We loaded everything they owned in that car and helped him move upstairs down in Texas A&M. But then Hoyt, after that, he became a CPA, and I became an accountant. But it wasn't until 1963 that I became a CPA. It took me 5 years to do that. But I was determined to do it. But anyway, Hoyt and I lived close together for several years at East Dallas. Our kids were the same age, and there's a very big loss when Hoyt died at a very unusual early age. So he and Jolene were very close to our family too through the years, and then later years, Jolene, I got to know, in touch with her, and we were close for many years, and then later she died also. By the way, my brother Jim and his wife Dixie were members of the 52 class. Dixie graduated. I don't know if you remember Dixie, she had polio. And Jim, he wasn't a very good student at all. He loved football, he played football, and Charlie Winkle, I think, was one of his cohorts in a lot of activities. He graduated, he did not graduate, I mean, but he would have flunked out if he hadn't quit. So he, as soon as he played his last football game he could play, he left and joined the Air Force. But anyway, he had a lot of experiences in a lot of things. But Jim died later. He and Dixie both died within a few years apart, about probably in the late 90s, 1990s. I graduated from East Texas and got a job in Dallas in accounting, but they told me I probably wouldn't be drafted. As you know, back in those days, they tell you that, but it didn't last long. So after I'd been there about 2 months, I got drafted in the Army. Spent 2 years in the Army and met my wife while I was in the Army. Shirley, my wife Shirley, met her in San Antonio. I was, because I had a college degree, I was able to get into county Army intelligence and ended up in San Antonio in the counterintelligence corps. And there, because I went to church, I attended a church there and met Shirley. She was a very good Christian lady, a young girl, 4 years younger than me, and her parents were very good Christians. We got married in 1958, had our first child about 1 year later. We ended up with 3 boys. Our middle son, at the age of 5, he developed a kidney problem. It progressed and gradually through the years. He ended up with about 11 or 12 in surgery and with 2 transplants. My oldest son donated a kidney to him in the 60s, somewhere in there, but he continued to reject the kidney. So he eventually died in 2001. My middle son. My youngest son is now a musician and in theatrical performance in Dallas, and he's very active as an artist. and does musical theater, teaches musical theater, and he teaches also kindergarten in Carnes County College, teaches performance. So he's very active. He's single and got a home there in Dallas and does an enormous amount of painting, very unusual painting. Shirley, my wife, I thought by being 4 years younger, she'd take care of me in my older age, and thought I had it made, but about 8 or 9 years after we married, she had her thyroid removed, had surgery, and then in 1969 she developed a brain cancer, and it turned out to be benign, but she had 3 major brain surgeries that left her partly paralyzed. She's not able to come to any of our meetings, even our monthly meeting that our class has, she's not able to attend that. But she was a super, one of the best wives I could have ever picked. I didn't pick one in Winnsboro. No one Winnsboro was interested in me. I was not very popular in Winnsboro except in the FFA. But I'm very fortunate. My life has been blessed unbelievably. I feel like at 84 years old I've lived 3 or 4 lives. I've gone from highly successful to completely broke, to having great families, to having families that are in 2 of them in the hospital at the same time. And it's just been but in all of that, I've had a very blessed life. Getting to know my class back in our 50th class reunion, I got reacquainted with Phil Ferguson. And Phil, come to find out, he lived in Mesquite and had been teaching there for years. But I didn't know Phil. He was way above me. I wasn't very much with city people. I was a country boy, like Joanne. I grew up in rural out in Pleasant Grove. I not only had coal, we had heater that we had to put wood in. Back Pleasant Grove, we had to cut the wood and put it in a big old heater. And I started at school in Cartwright, and my dad died when I was 8 years old. So we had to move in with my mother's brothers, and we had 6 of us kids. Still, oldest one was 16, I guess. I was 8. And our family, the Laminacs, Oscar and Pete Laminac, raised us out in Pleasant Grove. And they kept us there all those years. All of us graduated to college. Very fortunate, our family was. But now, there are 6 of us, 3 of us still live. Oldest, youngest, and I'm the middle. My oldest sister, that's 94, 93, she's still living, but she's in a nursing home right now in Mesquite, but she's going to get out Sunday and go back home. She thinks she's well, but my youngest brother's still living, but he's in a nursing home. But I'm fortunate like George. I think God has always blessed me with relatively good health through the years. I've had a few things. I got a bad knee, leg, and wearing a brace, but I've had some heart problems. I got a pacemaker. Anybody else here have a pacemaker? I think I thought was a sign of old age when you get a pacemaker. But I had a pacemaker and 1 stent made. I thought I was going to have a lifetime of heart trouble. But that was in probably at least 2007, I think it was. But anyway, I've lived since I had that pacemaker. I've not had any more problems. So we have now 2 living children, and we have 5 grandchildren, all boys. All our grandchildren, all our boys were, all our kids were boys, all our grandkids Well, we did have 2 granddaughters, I'm sorry, one of our sons haven't had them. But we now have five grandchildren, we have about 5 or 6 great-grandchildren, 3 of them were born this summer. So we have 5 or 6 great-grandchildren, we have a great family, but, I spent 25 years at an accounting firm in Dallas until 1985. It was a small firm. The older man that started the firm, he was very good to me. When I applied for a job there, I was very lucky. He took a chance on me. I had graduated with a BBA degree, but I wasn't qualified to take the CPA exam. But through the help of these men in this firm, I persisted and kept going and worked there for 25 years. And then the younger of the family came into the family, and they thought I was getting kind of old. I was in my 50s then. So I left the firm and went on my own. Went in the restaurant business. Thought I was going to become a super restaurateur. I ended up being a partner in 3 PCN. But that didn't work. I completely lost everything I invested in. So I had to start all over at age 60. So since that time, I've continued to maintain my accounting practice. And today, I have a practice in my home, still do income taxes. And the Lord gives me the strength to do that, but my wife is completely unable to get out and do anything, so we couldn't do much anyway, so it's been very fortunate to do that. Not only did we get to know Durann and others, I remember when we decided to have monthly class meetings, a luncheon rather. Phil and I, after he and I got friendly to one another, we started having lunch. He would buy product. My wife became a Watkins distributor, so he liked to cook. So he talked her into buying some of the product, helping him with his cooking. So he began to come over to our house to get products, so he and I began to talk. Then we started having lunch together. Then one time during the all-school reunion, I talked to Durann about the idea that maybe we ought to consider a monthly, in other words, bring other people into our luncheon. Phil and I were meeting monthly. We talked to Durann and some others. Jewel Jordan. Jewel was very active in with our group, and she loved the idea too. So she became one of those dear friends to me. I rode many a mile with her in her Cadillac. She wouldn't ride with nobody else, but every time we go somewhere, we'd have to ride with Jewel. And she and Phil were very close friends. They went to college together in North Texas. I believe it was Jewel, wasn't it? Jewel and maybe Joyce also. And Wanda Morton. They all graduated at the same time. And Phil and Jewel kept close friends. So when they would ride together, he could be the funniest guy in the world, but he would just completely be, you talk about a backseat driver. He and I would have to ride in the back seat with Jewel and Joanne. But Phil would continually tell her she's crossing over the line, she's getting over here, she's getting over here. And they would yell back and forth to one another, and it's like crazy. They were closest of friends. But just got the kind of enjoyment that I got out of getting back together with people like Durann came. Finally, George joined us a couple of years ago. He and Roy and got to know Sandra. She was not a Winnsboro graduate. What she was, I didn't know about it, know her very well, but Roy began to come meet with us, and then, who else is here? We had some others, but some of them got sick when they couldn't come. But we enjoy getting together. We have it somewhere 7, 8, 10 meetings at least once a month. Anyway, thank you.
The references to Phil Ferguson prompt me to remind everybody that he was the son of our superintendent, W.A. Ferguson. Some might not know that. And also, you mentioned that Hoyt came to Aggie Land. We overlapped a little bit. I laid out a year. I didn't start college for a year working for the FFA without pay, but and Hoyt came down there while working on a master's while I was still working on a bachelor's, and we had some good times together when he was down there at A&M, living in the civilian section. At that time, A&M was all male, all core, and it was quite a time. Hoyt and I had a lot of experiences together. He and I went to, when Roland Butler was the commander of the American Legion here, he and I were chosen to go to Lone Star Boys State after our junior year. And, I felt real close to Hoyt. I went to his funeral at the Highland Park Methodist Church. And, interestingly, the preacher who did his funeral talked a whole lot about Hoyt's dog. I think his name was Traveler. And Hoyt was very close to that dog. And the preacher made that a central part of his obituary and eulogy. When Hoyt passed on, I lost a really, really great friend. I think anybody who knew Hoyt thought he was a wonderful guy.
And we have, over here in the corner of Roy Carnes.
Can I mention about Phil? I understood that he was had the highest grade that year as a valedictorian, but he told me one time, I thought that he did not feel like he should be the valedictorian because he only spent 1 year. But I don't know who the salutatorian was that year. You may know. And you may know the story. He told me that.
I believe Dorothy Rhodes.
That he gave it, he said he didn't feel like he should be the valedictorian because.
I believe Dorothy Rhodes was the
Dorothy was what?
Salutatorian. Dorothy Salutatorian. It's like
Salutatorian.
Salutatorian.
Oh, salutatorian.
Yeah.
Oh, Rhodes, okay.
Wasn't Roy valedictorian?
Roy, were you?
Yeah, Dorothy Rhodes was the valedictorian, and Phil Ferguson and I shared the salutatorian together.
Did he have a high grade?
I don't I spent a few years in the military, like most of the other guys here.
So did that.
As a musician in the Air Force, which I enjoyed. Played in a lot of places all over the country, and spent 3 years at the Caribbean. And very interesting right now on this business in Puerto Rico. I think I have played on every bandstand, on every plaza, in every town in Puerto Rico. And I was there in 1956, I believe, when Hurricane Betsy came across the island, and the eye of the hurricane slashed right over. We got to chop wood for about a week after that. I got involved in music for about 10 years. Realized I had to make a living, so I went to pharmacy school. And I have subsequently worked as a pharmacist for 50 years. Gave it up in 2012. I guess you could say I come from a pharmacy family. My first wife was a pharmacist. I have a daughter who is an associate dean of the pharmacy school at Ohio State University. Does cardiac research primarily. I also have a son who lives in Austin. I have 2 grandchildren, 2 sons, 2 grandsons. Today, I don't do very much. I still have a closet full of horns. I think I have a trumpet, a cornet, a flugelhorn, and a pocket trumpet. And I'm thinking about maybe getting one of them out and trying to play it again.
Should.
I do play keyboard for about an hour a day, just to help keep my mind active. Also, the other thing I'm doing right now, which you all might find interesting, I decided to brush up on my Spanish, so I'm using a program that's free called Duolingo. If you're interested in learning another language or brushing up on one, I would hardly recommend it. I don't know that I'll ever use it. I used to love to travel in Mexico, but I think Mexico's coming to us, so I may get to use it. That's about all I have to say. By the way, I did graduate from the University of Texas in 1961, and one of my fellow graduates at the same time was also one of our classmates, Brand Shelby, who is not here today. But, he and I finished university.
We can't find a telephone number for him.
He's moved recently. And probably like the rest of us, he's probably thrown his landline away and has a cell phone. We're all fighting that battle. That's about all I have to say.
Oh,
About Brent Shelby, one of his close friends was Patrick. What was his name?
Pat.
Patrick. Was he a member of this class?
No.
Okay. I know he's a football player.
And our last, I believe, today is Durann Dodgen, artist.
Hi, this has gone on for quite a while, so I'm going to make mine short. Short but sweet, maybe. But anyway, you were speaking of North Ward School. And some of you remembered I lived right across the street from North Ward School. And at that time, there was a concrete ledge all around the top story. It was about 1 foot wide. And I was a real tomboy back then. And my mother looked out the front door one day, standing on the porch, and saw me walking around that ledge, you know, that was about like that. And of course, she screamed so loud, it's a wonder I didn't fall out. I finally came down. But I was such a tomboy back then that my parents decided they better do something about that. So they sent me to dance school, to ballet school. And Mother would drive me to Dallas every week for years. I didn't do a whole lot with it at the time because I wasn't in the greatest of health at that time, but now I'm just lucky to be enormously healthy, I think because of all of that exercise. But anyway, went everywhere I could to study dance, and when they finally realized that I was really serious about it, I moved to Washington, D.C., where my brother and his wife lived. He was with the Food and Drug Administration at that time. Some of you may remember Durann. So I lived with them for quite a while and studied dance. And before I went up there, my brother, I told him to find a good place for me, you know, to study. And of all things, he signed me up with the Bolshoi Ballet. They were just a group, an offshoot of the group in Russia, but these had sneaked out, you know, what's that called?
Defected.
Defected, that's the word I'm trying to think of. They defected and they opened up this studio in the Washington, D.C. area, and that's where I studied. And I cried nearly every day for a while when I went up, because I was a little bitty fish in a great big pond, but I learned a lot. And finally came back home and eventually opened my own studio after teaching high school English for a while. And I was no Gladys Burkham because my heart just wasn't in it. I wanted to open my own studio, which I eventually did in Sulphur Springs, and taught for over 30 years, and I didn't retire until I was 71. And I have one daughter, one precious daughter, one granddaughter, and 2 great-grandchildren, and that's where I spend my time, is helping to babysit with them. And I love Winnsboro. I've often told people that I live in Sulphur Springs, but my heart is in Winnsboro.
yeah, yes. Did we miss anybody in the class of 52? Or 51, I mean?
I'm not a member of the class, but I would like to say.
Well, so stand up.
I'm Sandra Carnes, and I'm married to a wonderful guy that graduated in this class, Roy Carnes, and I have come to love these people that he graduated with. I just feel like I'm a part of the group, I feel like we're a family, and it's been a wonderful experience for me to get to know all of you. And I have a reason I wanted to speak, I have a message for Barto. Barto Fanning, I am your old childhood neighbor, Sandra Martin. And I wish you were here today. Please come next time.
Yeah, Barto Fanning was my best friend from 7th grade on. When I came to town school for the 7th grade, Barto Fanning was from a country school as well. And he reached out to me, and I was a willing friend. We became close friends, really, and remain so today. I'm glad to have that message for him, Sandra, because he will see this, and he'll be sending a comment, as he always does, about the video.
I want just before I leave Durann, I did want to say I don't get to see Durann very often, but we were next door neighbors. She lived across the North Ward School, and I lived next door. And my mother had been left a widow at this point, and she had no car. And the Dodgen family took us any place we needed to know. Where I couldn't go on the bicycle if it was at night or raining or something. The Dodgen family provided our transportation, and so I spent a lot of time with Durann in the car, as well as next door, and visiting with her brother. They were wonderful neighbors, and I'm not sure we would have made it through if we had one another next door. But it was a wonderful experience. I'm so glad to see you again. It's great.
Okay, we had a Lois Marie?
I wanted to say that Jody Holt Cannon is one of our graduates, although she's a year younger than we are, but anyway, she's graduated with the 51s.
Say that name again.
Joanne Holt
Oh, yes.
Cannon.
Yeah.
She got all ready to come, but then she has a weak heart, and she has these episodes every so often.
Where does she live?
Dallas.
I see.
And I just wanted to say that she wanted to come, and she would love to have been here, but she couldn't.
Yeah.
And we can pray for her because she says only by the grace of God is she still with us.
Yeah. With all the mentions of grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I'll just say I probably have the fewest number of grandchildren of anybody in here. I have one grandchild and one only, and she was from the day she was born until this day now, she's been the delight of my life. She's been living in New Zealand for the past, going on 6 years now, and she went over there on a Fulbright to get a master's program, get a master's degree at the University of Victoria at Wellington, got that, and then went to work, has been doing a lot of work for the government of New Zealand, has recently changed jobs, is now with a private company out there. I think she'll be there perhaps another year or so, but she's 33 now. And I know when I was in my 30s, I began, and living in other states, I began to feel that call. I mean, I think native Texans, sometime in their 30s, if they've got all the DNA of that Texas affords, begin to feel a call, because I certainly started feeling that call, and she's feeling it now and admitting it, that she's ready to come back to Texas. So I hope she gets back pretty soon. But I only have one, and I bet nobody else in here has only one grandchild. Is that right? Okay, just wanted to mention that. Jane?
Barto and I went to church together all of our growing up days.
Really? Where was that?
At Center Grove Baptist Church, a little missionary Baptist church
Yeah.
up close to
That's
where
still
we-
functioning, isn't it?
No, it's gone.
Oh, it is?
It's gone. And it was right close to where he lived.
Yeah.
And we drove all that way over there all the time to church. And this was Lucille on the phone, Lucille Forshe.
Really?
She said to tell everybody hello.
Where is she?
Well, they live in Humble. She lives with her daughter. And they tried to get here in time for this, but they're in Marshall right now at her grandson's. And she said to tell everybody she just misses everybody so much.
Okay. Our class of 52, I'll say this, some years ago, we used to started out meeting every 5 years, which is kind of customary at the time, and we did that, I think, up through our 50th year reunion, And I think it was Roger Scarborough, Joanne's husband, at maybe the next reunion after the 50th, I think, Roger, I don't know whether Joanne had prompted him or not, but he suggested that we start meeting more often. And we voted on it, and we voted to start meeting every 3 years. Now, what has happened, and if y'all have been through that, when you change it from 5 years to something less, it's caused us to meet every 2 years several times, like on the 60 year, because then you're not meeting on that even year. And we met here only 2 years ago. Normally, we would have met here next year, except last year, or 2 years ago, in this very room, several of the people who were here said, oh, we've got to meet on the 65th year. We can't not meet on the, and so we're having a year, we voted to meet every 3 years, but we've already violated that twice. So let me ask the class, when are we meeting again? In 3 years?
No, we won't be around.
We won't.
Some of us may not be around.
Well,
2
what-
years.
what
I
would
think
be
I
our
like
goal?
the 2. Don't you like the 2?
You're gonna get me in trouble.
Okay.
Well, we can change it with a vote, I mean, right now, our vote is to meet every 3 years. So do we want to keep it that way or not? This is the governing body here. A quorum is whoever shows up.
I don't have a preference. I'm so far away. It depends on if my driver is still available, and I don't know if that's going to be.
If you're in favor of every 3 years, hold up your hand. If you're in favor of 2 years, hold up your hand. We've actually got more for 2 than,
This discussion last time, it's
Yes.
like, we need to tighten the
Yes,
window
yes.
because the people showing up, the amount is dropping, so we need to.
Okay, 2 years.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, just cause we think we're too old, I just got back in my new car from driving 3 other women and me for over 4,500 miles, and we had a blast.
You survived?
I can't, oh yeah, I drove it all, I wouldn't let them touch my new car, those old women can't drive. But I'm telling you, I learned all kinds of things. If you don't know the identification of a lot lizard, come and ask me. I can tell you what that is. I didn't know what that was.
okay, so this is 17. We're meeting in 19. That's the will of the class of 52, is that right? Anybody object to that? Okay, we have now changed our meeting plans from every 3 years to every 2 years. Is everybody okay with meeting here again next time? Okay. All right, so that as far as I know, that takes care of our business. Does anyone else have any business for the class of 52? Anybody?
I would like to know, are you still accepting contributions to support the class? I know you send things
Sure.
when people pass away, and you devoted all kinds of time for letters and postcards and directories and so forth. Are you still
You're out
accepting
of money,
donations?
aren't you?
Yes. It's still acceptable.
And quick input from the driver, it's fun for me to hear an anecdote that my mother used to put her lipstick on while she was walking because I put mascara on sitting at stoplights, and that's where I get it from.
Oh, you don't even remember that, I bet.
I know. As soon as she said that, I said, I totally get that.
Okay, you have, those of you here have your directories. I'll be sending out the directories to those who are not here. And the link to the video that'll be posted on YouTube ASAP. And the class 51 reminds you, I'll post the video for your participation today on my channel. If anybody want to put it on your YouTube channel, you can do that. But if you want to, I'll give Jane the link. Are you on email? Do you have email? Okay, I'll give Jane the link, and she can send it to the whole class 51. And if any of you want to contact me about it, my email is jodan@jodanboyd.com. Not all that hard to remember. So email me if you want to know anything about progress of the
The
video.
next 2 years, can you arrange to have another motel built so us out of town people have a place to sleep?
Working on that, yeah. Peggy's thinking about opening one.
In your dreams.
How about you and Roger moving back and opening a bed and breakfast? Okay, so I guess, are we done with our business? Anyone have any other business we need to take care of?
Do you tell jokes? You a jokester? You got that right.
But I'm not anymore.
Well, the reason I asked, if you can read the Winnsboro paper, one of my favorite deals is the joke of the week.
Yeah, I read those.
Did anybody read the one this week?
I do, but I can't remember what it was.
I would like to tell it, if
Tell
you
it.
don't mind.
Go ahead.
It's a story of a lady who had a mysterious kitchen utensil in her kitchen. It was partly a large spoon with holes in the bottom, and it was partly a spatula. She didn't know what to call it, so she used it for both. She used it part of the time for a spoon, part of the time as a spatula. So she hung it up in her kitchen and hung there for many years. She kept using it. Finally, she was at a rummage sale one day, and she picked up an item and took it home. And she opened it up. It was a brand new package. Inside of it was this utensil, and it was a pooper scooper.
I didn't read that.
Thank you, Hank.
It's picture time, Joanne.
Okay, it's now 1:35. Remember, the all-school reunion is at 2:30. We'd like to get a group picture. We can do this in 5 minutes. If the class of 52 will line up over here by the door, I'll make that one first. And then the class of 51, we can do it in the next 5 minutes. We can do that one. Start with the class of 52. Class members only.
Yeah.
Is that Cater Hill gal? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Class 52 lining up for the door.
This is 52.